Hi, you're on the Reddit Confessions channel. It was the clink of glasses that made me look up, that sharp, careless sound of a toast followed by a wave of laughter that didn't include me. I was sitting just off-center at the long oak table, pretending to enjoy the party, swirling the last bit of flat soda in a chipped cup, wondering if anyone would notice if I slipped out early. Lana was at the other end, half turned in her seat, surrounded by the usual suspects. The work friends who thought they were celebrities just because they made PowerPoints in glass buildings. She was mid-laugh, eyes glinting, looking nothing like the woman I wake up next to every morning. She leaned in toward the crowd, her voice rising just loud enough for everyone to hear. Honestly, I'd swap my husband for one weekend with someone who knows how to plan a vacation and not just read Yelp reviews. Cue the laughter. Someone howled. Another slapped the table. One guy actually snorted. And me? I blinked. Not because it hurt, not at first, but because it didn't even surprise me. I'd heard versions of that jab before, in private, in public, masked as jokes or framed as constructive. But tonight was different. Tonight, she said it like I wasn't even there. I didn't say a word. I just got up, walked to the hallway, and sat on the bottom step of the host's staircase like some misplaced coat rack. She didn't follow me. Instead, 10 minutes later, he did. Tall, confident. The kind of guy who walks like he's always being filmed. He stood at the base of the stairs and said, "You took that like a champ, man." I'd have cracked. I stared at him. Then I asked how long. He blinked. What? I didn't move. Didn't raise my voice. Just tell me. How long has it been going on? He didn't answer. Just looked away, then back, then shrugged. "I'm sorry," he muttered, as if that fixed anything. By the time Lana came looking for me, I had already left through the side door. She didn't even text me that night. And what came the next morning made last night look like a warm-up act. I didn't sleep that night. I walked around for hours, through streets I didn't recognize, replaying the moment over and over again. The toast, the laughter, the way he said, "You took that like a champ." Like it was a game and I was the only idiot who didn't know the rules. By the time the sun came up, I was sitting in a diner 3 blocks from our apartment, staring at a plate of cold eggs and toast that tasted like regret. I wasn't even angry. That would have been easier. I felt hollow, like something had quietly exited my body and left a draft behind. I didn't want to go home, but I also had nowhere else to go. My phone buzzed once. A notification, not from her, but from our shared calendar. Brunch with Mom, 11 a.m. Except, Lana's mom passed away last year. I blinked, opened it. It wasn't our shared calendar. It was hers. Somehow, maybe during an update or a sync or some kind of digital twist of fate, I had access to a new, private calendar tied to her Gmail. I didn't even realize it was there. But now that it was open, I saw everything. Lunch dates during work hours. Yoga sessions at addresses that didn't match any studio I could find. Random initials. GW drinks, rooftop. T massage 2 p.m. Z. Overnight, cancel Wendell's thing. Some events were even color-coded. She had a system. Organized. Efficient. Secret. And right there, clear as daylight, was last night's entry. Joke night/D. Will be there, test waters. Test waters? My heart started pounding like it suddenly remembered what it was for. I scrolled backward through the past 2 months. Too many names. Too many entries. Too many lies wrapped in casual shorthand. But what broke me, what really broke me, was seeing my name. Only once. Just once. Wendell, dentist, reschedule if running late. That was it. I wasn't her husband in that calendar. I was a background task. A flexible chore. I didn't cry. I didn't even flinch. I just stared at the screen and realized I had officially become an optional part of my own marriage. I walked home at noon. She was in the kitchen, slicing a peach like nothing had happened. She asked if I wanted coffee, smiled like we were still pretending to be people we weren't. I said yes. Sat down, watched her pour it, and I asked her the most ridiculous question I've ever asked another human being. "Do you love me?" She didn't answer right away. She just laughed. Gently. The kind of laugh people use to stall. Then she looked at me and said, "Let's not do this today, okay? I'm not in the mood for dramatics." Dramatics. I nodded, took the coffee, sipped it, and decided, right there, that if she wasn't in the mood for truth, I'd stop offering it. But I wasn't done. Not yet. Because what she didn't know was that I wasn't the only one who saw the calendar that morning. I don't know why I did it, honestly. Maybe it was self-destruction. Maybe curiosity. Or maybe some fragile, desperate part of me needed confirmation. Proof that I wasn't crazy. That this wasn't just paranoia dressed up in coincidence. I still had his number. The man from the party. The one who said I took it like a champ. I had never saved it intentionally, but he was in a group chat from Lana's birthday last year. The message was still there, buried under photos of cake and candles and forced smiles. I clicked his profile. His name was Damien. I typed out one line. No hello. No threats. Just, you said you're sorry. So tell me the truth. I expected silence. Or maybe a block. But instead, 3 dots appeared almost instantly. Then a reply. You really want it? Yes. He sent a file. A screen recording. I didn't open it right away. I sat there, holding my phone like it was radioactive. My fingers trembled. My stomach twisted. Something deep in my chest warned me. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. But I pressed play. The video started with Lana's voice. Clear. Calm. Confident. I think he suspects something, she said. The camera must have been hidden, probably propped up on a nightstand or shelf, the way people do when they think it's all just part of their game. Damien's voice came next. Then why the joke last night? Why push it? She laughed. Laughed. Because it's fun. Because I like watching him squirm without ever knowing why. I paused the video. I couldn't breathe. My chest felt like it was being crushed from the inside. But I forced myself to continue. He's harmless, she went on. Sweet, boring, safe. He'll never leave. That's the beauty of it. My face went numb. I could hear blood rushing in my ears, a rising pressure like I was about to pass out. Damien said something else. I don't even remember what, but then Lana added one final blow. If he ever finds out, I'll just cry and say I felt neglected. He'll eat it up. He always does. That was it. That was the moment. Not the betrayal, not the lies, not even the affair. That sentence, that smug confidence, that certainty that no matter what she did, I'd stay. I didn't respond to Damien. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just sat there in the dark, in our bedroom, listening to the echo of her voice on repeat until it felt like my bones were vibrating. She came home later than usual that night. Smelled like wine. Kissed my forehead like she was blessing a pet. Asked if I wanted to watch a movie. I said I was tired. I wasn't. I stayed awake. Thinking. Planning. Because I realized something important. She had spent years believing I would never do anything unexpected. And that was her biggest mistake. The next morning, I made her breakfast. French toast, the way she liked it. Golden, soft in the middle, strawberries on the side. She looked at me suspiciously, probably because I hadn't cooked in weeks. I told her I couldn't sleep and figured I'd do something nice. She smiled, said, see? That's the Wendell I married. And kissed me on the cheek like the last 2 nights never happened. I watched her eat every bite. Watched her laugh at something on her phone. Watched her walk into the bathroom, still wearing the robe I bought her last Christmas. Then I opened her purse. She always leaves it on the counter, zipped, like it's a sealed vault. But today she forgot to close it completely, and that was enough. Inside, under a makeup pouch and a half-eaten granola bar, was her second phone. Not her main one, the work one. The one she barely touched around me. She claimed it was for client meetings, kept it muted all the time, said it was just company junk. I tapped the screen. No lock. What I found wasn't just messages. It was photos. Her and Damien. In our car. In a hotel bathroom mirror. Even one in our bedroom. While I was on a business trip 3 weeks ago. I could see our comforter, the lamp I assembled from IKEA, the small tear in the curtain she always meant to fix. And there they were, smiling like tourists in someone else's life. She'd organized them into folders. Names like Fun Nights, Need Delete, and, ironically, For Me Only. I emailed every file to myself, then deleted the history. Then I took something from her purse that she definitely would notice, her work ID badge, and replaced it with a note. A small, folded slip of paper with just 6 words. You laughed. Now it's my turn. She didn't find it until later that afternoon. I was at the library, sitting in the corner near the windows, pretending to read, but really just watching the minutes crawl by. At exactly 3:42 p.m., she called me. I didn't answer. She texted once. What is this? Where's my badge? I ignored it. By 5 p.m., I was home. She walked in looking furious, but trying to act confused. She held up the note. What is this supposed to mean? I told her I didn't know what she was talking about. She squinted. You took my badge. I was late to a client meeting. I shrugged. Guess you should have planned better. You're great at scheduling, right? Her expression flickered, just for a second, like she'd felt the crack beneath her feet, but didn't know how deep it went. Are you trying to mess with me? She asked. Because that's childish. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. You know what's childish? Taking pictures with your affair partner in a married couple's bedroom. That's childish. The silence that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard in our home. She froze. Her jaw moved, but no words came out. I let it hang there for a moment, like a heavy coat. Then I added, but don't worry, I'm not here to scream or throw things. You're right, I'm the safe one. Predictable. The kind of guy who takes hits and stays. She whispered, Wendell. I smiled tight. You were so sure I'd never do anything. So sure you had me locked down with a leash made of guilt and obligation. She stepped closer. It wasn't like that. Oh, I know, I said. It was worse. I walked away before she could say another word. Not far, just to the hallway closet. I opened it, took out the suitcase she didn't even realize I had packed the night before, and wheeled it past her toward the door. She followed me, panicked now. Where are you going? I stopped, hand on the knob, and looked at her one last time. Nowhere yet, I said. But the man you laughed at doesn't live here anymore. I didn't slam the door when I left. That would have made it too easy for her to label me dramatic or unstable. Another excuse to twist the story if anyone ever asked. I closed it gently. Click. Like sealing a chapter. I didn't have a plan. No job lined up somewhere far. No friend waiting with a couch. All I had was a small suitcase, the clothes I'd picked in silence, and the drive to finally stop being the footnote in my own life. What surprised me most was how quiet the world felt once I stepped outside. Not just audibly, emotionally. No more second-guessing. No more stomach knots. No more waiting for the next excuse or half-truth. It wasn't relief exactly. It was something colder. Emptier. But it was mine. I didn't check into a hotel. I used the spare key to my cousin's office. It's barely used, mostly storage now, and he gave me access last year in case I ever needed a quiet place to work. It had a couch, Wi-Fi, and a door that locked. Good enough. That first night, I didn't sleep much. I sat there staring at the wall, trying to figure out how long I had been asleep while my life moved on without me. All those times she said I was paranoid for asking questions or insecure for feeling distant. She had already built an entire second life, and I was just the maintenance guy for the one she pretended to still live in. The next morning, I called my boss. Told him I needed a week off, personal reasons. He didn't ask. I think he heard something in my voice, or maybe he was too polite to pry. Either way, I was free, and that's when I did it. I emailed the photos. Not to friends. Not to family. I sent them to her. I attached every single picture from that second phone. The ones with Damien, the ones in my car, the ones she thought no one would ever see. And I didn't write a single word in the message. No subject. No explanation. Just silence. She called within minutes. I didn't pick up. Then came the messages. Wendell, please. We need to talk. I made mistakes, but we can work through this. That wasn't what it looks like. You're blowing this out of proportion. Please come home. I stared at them, each one more desperate than the last. I didn't feel vindicated. I didn't even feel angry anymore. I felt tired, like I'd been trying to carry a relationship uphill while she was walking the other way with someone else. Then came the one that stopped me cold. Don't ruin me over something that wasn't real. Wasn't real? That's what she called it. A year of meetings, messages, and motel sheets, and she called it not real. She wasn't trying to fix anything. She was trying to control the damage. Her image. Her story. And I realized something horrifying. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry she lost the power to hide it. Later that evening, Damien messaged me again. Just one line. You got what you wanted. She's a wreck. Happy now? I didn't reply, because it wasn't about revenge. It never was. It was about finally hearing myself after years of being drowned out by her laughter, her sarcasm, her indifference. She made a joke in front of a room full of people, thinking she was in control. But I was done being the punchline. And now, for the first time, I was about to rewrite the story she thought she owned. 2 days after I disappeared from our apartment, I got an email from Lana's sister. Not a text, not a call, an actual email. That's how I knew things were spiraling for her. The subject line just said, Talk to her, please. Inside was a long, winding attempt at defending her. Words like confused, lost, and made a mistake appeared so often I started counting them. 11 times. 11 different ways to avoid calling what she did what it actually was. Near the end, there was a line that stuck with me. You know how Lana gets when she feels trapped. Trapped. That word made something click. This wasn't about love, or passion, or boredom. It was about control. About always needing a door open, an escape route, a secret room in her life where she could pretend she wasn't who she chose to be. I'd spent 9 years making that home feel like safety, and she'd spent 9 years quietly unlocking the windows. I didn't respond to her sister, but I did something else. Something I never imagined doing, especially not as the soft-spoken, forgive-too-much version of myself I'd been for so long. I wrote a letter. Not to her, not to her family, but to our friends. The ones we'd invited over for dinners, who laughed at our anniversary toasts, who took selfies with us on Lana's birthday, like we were some picture-perfect couple. I told them the truth, calmly, without insults or rage. Just facts. I attached screenshots. Photos. I explained what had happened, how long it had been happening, and how long I had been played. And I sent it to everyone. Every couple from the engagement party. Her coworkers who had hosted game nights. Even the yoga friend she always insisted was too spiritual for gossip. I didn't embellish. I didn't threaten. I just gave them the version of the story she never expected anyone else to hear. Then I turned my phone off. An hour later, a notification popped up on my laptop, the only device I had left online. Lana had posted on her social media account a black and white photo of her looking reflective with the caption, "Sometimes the people closest to you are the ones who hurt you most." The comments came pouring in. Hearts. Hugs. Stay strong. You'll get through this. A few people messaged me directly. 2 believed me. One said I was petty for airing it all publicly. Another said, "This doesn't sound like the Lana I know." That was the point. No one really knew her. Not even me. A few hours later, she called from a different number. I answered. I don't know why. Maybe I needed to hear it. The desperation, the unraveling. She started with a sob. Not even a greeting. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said. I stayed quiet. I felt like I was disappearing. "You never saw me anymore. You were too busy performing for everyone else," I said. "Maybe that's why I couldn't find you. I made mistakes, okay? But you made this public. You humiliated me." I only told the truth. It wasn't your truth to tell. That's when I finally spoke with clarity, not anger, just calm. "You made a joke about swapping me in front of a crowd. You turned our marriage into a punchline. I just gave it a closing line." She went silent. Then, softly, "So that's it? You're just walking away?" I thought about that. I really did. "No," I said. "I'm walking forward. There's a difference." I hung up, and I didn't look back. 3 days passed. I hadn't heard from Lana since our last call, but I wasn't naive enough to believe she had given up. With someone like her, silence wasn't surrender, it was calculation. So when an invitation arrived in my inbox from one of her mutual friends, I knew right away she had something to do with it. The subject line was innocent. "You coming Saturday? Big news." And attached was a digital flyer. Balloons, champagne glasses, and Lana's unmistakable laugh frozen in a candid photo from years ago. It was a party, thrown by her best friend, supposedly to celebrate a life update. There was no mention of what the update was, but I didn't need to guess. This was her attempt to flip the script, paint herself as the one rising from the ashes while I remained a footnote in her new chapter. And that's when the idea hit me. Not revenge, not theatrics, just the truth shown at the right time, to the right people, in the place she least expected. So I RSVP'd. I arrived early. I wore a plain black shirt and jeans. No theatrics. No theatrics needed when the story sells itself. The venue was a rented loft, glowing with string lights and filled with the echo of curated laughter. Most of the faces were familiar, people who had known us only as Wendell and Lana, the harmless couple. Some looked at me awkwardly, unsure of what to say. A few gave me nods, as if acknowledging I still existed. And then she walked in. Lana looked radiant, of course. That's her skill, turning pain into presentation. She wore a long red dress and carried a glass of white wine like it was an award. Damien was beside her, hands in his pockets, casual and smug. They looked like co-stars arriving at a film premiere. Someone clinked a glass. Silence followed. Lana stood near the front, under a big handmade banner that said Fresh Starts and Brighter Days. "I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight," she said with a soft, rehearsed smile. "Life is full of unexpected turns, but sometimes those turns lead you exactly where you're meant to be." A few polite claps. She glanced at me, quickly, like checking to make sure I was still in my place. Still quiet. Still small. And then I reached into my bag. I pulled out a small envelope. No microphone. No announcements. Just one envelope. I walked calmly to the table next to the wine station and placed it there, right beneath a stack of her new business cards, the ones that read Life Coach, Speaker, Empowerment Advocate. The irony could have crushed the building. Inside the envelope was a single printed photo. Not just any photo. The one taken in our bedroom. Her and Damien. Clear as day. Her wearing my shirt. Him holding up a peace sign. The timestamp printed at the bottom. And taped to the back, in my handwriting. Some truths don't need to be shouted. Just placed where they can't be ignored. I didn't stay to see the moment she found it. I didn't need to. I walked out, into the night, just as the music kicked up again. My feet felt lighter. Not because I'd exposed her. That wasn't the point. But because I'd finally done something for me. Not out of fear. Not out of guilt. Not out of hope that she'd change. Just truth. Quiet and sharp. And I knew the ripple effect would come. Calls. Messages. Attempts to spin it all again. But I also knew this time. She wouldn't have the last word. Because I'd already said everything I needed to. And I said it without raising my voice. After the party, I turned my phone off for a full week. No social media. No inbox. No curiosity about how things unraveled once the envelope was opened. I didn't need to see the fallout to know it happened. Some stories don't need follow-ups. Some endings are cleaner without the echoes. During that week, I did things I hadn't done in years. Things so simple, they almost felt revolutionary. I walked without a destination. I bought a book and actually read it without checking my phone between chapters. I cooked for myself, not to impress someone, but because I wanted to eat something warm that I made with my own hands. I remembered how silence could be comforting, not threatening. Lana didn't show up again. No surprise visits. No long, manipulative texts. I think even she knew there was no version of the story she could twist that would survive what I left on that table. Not just the photo, but the truth. Quiet. Undeniable. Final. One afternoon, I got a message from an old friend, someone who had always liked both of us, but who apparently had seen through more than I realized. His text said, "It takes guts to walk away from the fire instead of trying to save someone who lit it." I stared at that line for a long time. He was right. I had spent so many years trying to protect a marriage that she was slowly setting on fire behind my back. I thought loyalty was strength. But sometimes, letting go is the bravest thing you can do. I don't know what comes next. I'm not rushing into some dramatic rebirth. I'm still Wendell. Still a little awkward. Still soft-spoken. But now, for the first time, I'm not ashamed of that. I don't want to be louder. I just want to be heard. And I finally am, by the one person who was always missing from the equation. Me. So, to anyone listening who's ever been the punchline in someone else's story, you don't have to rewrite them. Just stop letting them hold the pen. Thanks for being here on Reddit Confessions. If something in this story struck a nerve, tell us, what moment stood out to you the most? What would you have done differently? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading them all. And remember, sometimes the best revenge is no revenge at all, just peace. Until next time.